Stress often appears as a tightening in the chest or a heaviness in the mind, but its true roots lie much deeper. It begins when the mind wanders away from what is real and becomes trapped in stories of fear, control, or longing. When we believe these stories without question, the pressure grows, and we feel as if life is pulling us in many directions at once. Yet stress itself is not an enemy, it is a messenger pointing gently toward the places within us that are unsettled. When the mind clings to expectations, it becomes tangled. We imagine the future and try to hold it still. We replay the past and try to make it different. In doing so, we stretch our hearts beyond what they can carry. The Buddha taught that suffering arises from this grasping, from this refusal to meet life as it is. Stress is the immediate echo of that resistance. To understand it, we must pause and listen carefully, not trying to silence it, but trying to hear what it reveals. Often, stress grows because we measure ourselves against standards that were never ours to begin with. We compare our lives to the lives of others, forgetting that each person walks a different path. The mind becomes noisy, filled with judgments and doubts. But beneath all of that noise is a quieter truth. The present moment is still whole. Nothing is missing in this breath. Nothing demands perfection. In seeing this, the grip of stress begins to loosen. Understanding stress is not about eliminating it. It is about recognizing how it forms, how it tightens, and how it softens when met with awareness. When we learn to see its origin, we also learn to walk with more clarity, allowing the mind to rest in its natural openness. Stress grows strongest when the mind forgets where the body is. It runs ahead into imagined futures or sinks into unfinished memories, leaving the present moment abandoned. But the present is the only place where life truly unfolds. When we return to it, even briefly, the weight we carry begins to shift. The breath becomes a gateway. Each inhale invites us back. Each exhale releases what the mind holds too tightly. In this simple rhythm, the scattered pieces of our attention gather again. The art of returning does not require special techniques. It asks only for sincerity. When the mind wanders, and it always will, we do not scold it. We simply notice the way a parent watches a child wander into the garden and then gently guides them home. This gentleness is important. Harshness creates more tension, but kindness allows the mind to settle naturally. In this settling, stress has fewer places to hide. When we place our awareness on the present moment, we discover details we usually overlook. The temperature of the air, the sound of distant movement, the quiet rise and fall of the breath. These small experiences remind us that life continues even when the mind is troubled. They anchor us to something steady. In these moments, the storms inside us lose their force because the mind stops feeding them with more fear or speculation. Returning to the present is not an escape. It is an act of courage. It means facing what is here without running into stories or distractions. It means allowing discomfort to be felt without resistance. When we do this, stress begins to transform. What once felt sharp becomes soft. What once seemed overwhelming becomes manageable. The present moment becomes a refuge, not because it changes our circumstances, but because it changes our relationship to them. To live with less stress is to practice coming home again and again. Each return strengthens our trust in simplicity. Each breath reminds us that peace is never far away. It lives quietly in this moment, waiting for us to notice. Understanding stress is not about eliminating it. It is about recognizing how it forms, how it tightens, and how it softens when met with awareness. When we learn to see its origin, we also learn to walk with more clarity, allowing the mind to rest in its natural openness. Pressure often arrives when life asks more from us than we believe we can give. It tightens the mind and speeds the heart, whispering that we are not enough, not ready, not capable. Many people respond to this pressure by pushing harder, ignoring their own limits, or judging themselves for feeling overwhelmed, but this only deepens the suffering. The monk's path is different. When pressure appears, we meet it not with force, but with compassion. Compassion begins with acknowledging our own humanity. We are not machines built to perform endlessly. We are living beings with tender hearts, changing emotions, and fluctuating energy. When we forget this, pressure feels unbearable, but when we remember our softness, the burden lightens. Instead of asking, "Why am I struggling?" we ask, "What in me needs kindness right now?" This shift opens a space where stress can loosen its grip. Many people think compassion makes them weaker, but the opposite is true. Compassion gives us the strength to face difficulty without collapsing under it. When we speak to ourselves with gentleness, the heart becomes steadier. The mind becomes clearer. From this clarity, wiser choices emerge. We see what must be done, what can be released, and what was never ours to carry. Pressure becomes a teacher, not a threat. Meeting pressure with compassion also changes how we relate to others. When we understand our own struggles, we stop expecting perfection from those around us. We become more patient with their mistakes, more accepting of their limits. Stress often grows in relationships where understanding is absent. But when compassion enters, connection strengthens. The atmosphere softens, conversations become easier, even shared burdens feel lighter. Compassion is not an escape from responsibility. It is the foundation that allows us to fulfill our responsibilities without breaking. It reminds us that the heart needs care, just as the body does. When we offer ourselves this care, pressure no longer overwhelms us. Instead, it becomes a moment to return to our deeper nature, calm, steady, and capable of meeting life with a quiet strength. Much of our stress arises not from what we are doing, but from what we expect our efforts to produce. The mind creates pictures of how life should unfold, and when reality does not match those expectations, tension forms. We push harder, tighten more, and try to force the world into the shape we desire. Yet no matter how strong our grip becomes, life continues to move in its own way. The path of peace begins when we loosen that grip and release our attachment to outcomes. Releasing attachment does not mean giving up ambition or abandoning responsibility. It means understanding that results are not fully in our control. We offer our best effort, guided by sincerity and wisdom, but we do not cling to what we think must happen. When the heart becomes too attached, every setback feels like a failure and every delay feels like a threat. But when we let go, setbacks become guidance and delays become space to breathe. The mind no longer needs to fight reality. It learns to flow with it. When we release attachment, we reconnect with the simple joy of doing. A task becomes its own reward. A conversation becomes meaningful without needing a particular response. Even challenges become opportunities for growth, not obstacles to our plans. The present moment regains its priority, and the future loosens its hold over us. This shift dissolves stress at its source because much of our suffering comes from trying to live in a moment that has not yet arrived. Letting go requires trust. Trust in the process, trust in the unfolding of life, and trust in our own ability to adapt. This trust does not come all at once. It grows slowly, each time we choose presence over perfection and sincerity over control. In time, the mind learns that peace does not depend on achieving the ideal outcome. Peace depends on how gently we hold each moment. When attachment softens, the heart becomes light. Decisions become clearer, actions more grounded. Life continues to bring both blessings and difficulties, but we meet them with steadiness rather than fear. In letting go, we discover a freedom that was always available, a freedom that invites us to live with clarity, resilience, and genuine ease. Stress often feels heavier because we believe we must carry everything alone, Responsibilities, worries, expectations, and regrets gather within us like stones in a bag. Over time, the weight becomes so familiar that we forget it can be set down. Living lightly does not mean avoiding life's duties or ignoring its challenges. It means learning how to walk through the world without letting every experience cling to us. Living lightly begins with recognizing what belongs to us and what does not. Many burdens we carry are shaped by the voices of others, their judgments, their desires, their fears. We try to satisfy everyone, to meet standards that were never truly ours. But the heart cannot stay peaceful when it is constantly pulled in many directions. When we return to our own values and intentions, the excess weight falls away. We discover that simplicity is not emptiness, it is freedom. A light way of living also comes from knowing how to rest, not only rest of the body, but rest of the heart. In a noisy world, rest is an act of wisdom. When we allow ourselves even a moment of stillness, the mind recalibrates. Thoughts that felt overwhelming begin to settle. Emotions that felt tangled become clear. This inner rest strengthens us to meet life with steadiness rather than agitation. To live lightly is to take each step with awareness instead of rushing through our days. We listen more deeply, speak more honestly, and act with intention. We stop measuring our worth by how much we achieve and begin to honor the quiet progress within us. Stress loses its power when the heart stops resisting life and starts moving with it. Even in a world full of uncertainty, a light heart can endure. It is not fragile, it is open, it bends instead of breaking, it trusts instead of clinging. When we learn to live this way, life becomes spacious again. We feel the gentle support of each breath, the quiet wisdom of each moment, and the deep truth that we do not walk this path alone. Thanks for listening to this video. Please subscribe and click the bell icon so you'll be notified of new videos when they get published. Namaste.